Record. Okay, we're recording.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so based on your analysis of student learning evidence, establish what has been learned and by whom, what has not been learned and by whom, and who needs additional support to meet the standard. What have you learned about your students' learning characteristics that you did not realize previously?
Okay, so Melissa, tell me what the lesson was about.
Okay, so the lesson was based on standard. It was standard CCSS RL. Hold on, I have to pull it up again. I was trying to clean up my computer and clean up too much. Oh, you know what? I did not send you my lesson plan, did I?
You sent me the directions.
I sent you the directions. I did not send you the actual lesson.
Cool. I could look at that too.
Okay. I guess I could share it. Would you think it would be better for me to share it or to email it to you?
Whichever you prefer.
I
You could
think
share the screen and I could see it, or you could email it to me.
I guess I can share it. All right. See it?
Yes.
Okay. So, fourth grade ELA. Big questions. Okay, so for my own analysis, first off the bat, I didn't spend as much time going over the story as I would have liked to. So, like priming the kids, getting them to think about big questions. So that could have been more
Okay,
time.
hold on a second.
Okay,
What did you like about the presentation? What do you think
went well.
got him?
Um, what
Got
went?
us because I was in it. I was involved.
I think that the going over the steps went well. That there was
Okay.
pretty clear cut and to the point. Um,
And
I
Irene and I working together to find out to go
uh,
over some of the steps as well.
collaboration, the student collaboration went well.
Okay.
Um, the distance learning elements, so like having the PowerPoint presentation, was a good, was a productive factor of it.
You modeled excellent patience as you were navigating the technical difficulties.
Well, that's good to know because that was a little flustering.
You were very patient. You saw it through. That was excellent.
Okay, good. I liked your question about what would have been my backup plan um, if this was a real class and I hadn't been able to get that lesson. It's like having a hardback copy would be helpful.
Boom.
Yeah,
Plan B. Boom.
always have a plan B.
Right. Okay. So did we cover number one? I guess I could look at mine too.
Um, I don't know. This doing the sharing is kind of, oh, there it is.
So what was to be learned? Well, what I took from it is that you wanted us to learn the theme,
Yep.
and one of us realized that possibly many themes can exist in a story.
Mm-hmm.
They were called topics in one instance in your slides, and then they
Right.
became themes.
Right. So we transformed the topic into a theme.
Mm-hmm.
And then on my student learning goals, so students will be able to use specific details in a story to help them describe the theme. So let me scroll down to the end of this. So The way I wrote this lesson plan up is I split it into 5 days. So, like, I envisioned the first day is exactly what today would have been, going over the story and
Okay.
the how to find a theme and kind of practicing in it. And then day two, we would practice a little bit more on like just looking at vocabulary and a little vocabulary worksheet.
Okay.
Day three,
Okay, hold on. You're going too fast.
oh, sorry.
Play store.
Okay. So then day
Okay.
three is where we would actually get into the meat of doing the of them writing a theme by themselves and then finding three different text examples.
So if I could ask you a question.
Yes.
So what I heard you say is that you presented day one to us, and you have a couple day plan for what happens afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, so can we just focus on day one since I haven't really read all the other ones yet? Or should I read them right now though? I mean, is that
Yeah, you could go
where
ahead.
are we?
Yeah.
Okay. Go back. So that was a day. So go to day four then. As well, at day four.
Okay.
Oh, I had a question while we're looking at days. Go up to a little more. A little more.
To day two.
Day four, please.
Oh, day
But I mean, up in the screen, I can't read it. It's too low. There we go. Time frame. How long is this lesson supposed to take? An hour?
Maybe I probably like 40 minutes.
Okay.
Does it look like there's too much involved for 40 minutes?
No, I'm thinking about day one.
Uh-huh.
We would have to go through these in actual time to figure out what would be working and not. But
Right.
so go back to day one and let me just focus on that one.
Okay.
This is it?
Yep.
Okay. Tell me how 1 and 2 are eliciting prior knowledge for themes.
Okay, so it's relying on their own experiences and then having them think about cultures and their food that they like but they might be embarrassed about, kind of gets them ready to be thinking about in the frame of mind for what the story will be about and how they can relate to it.
Do you want them to tell you how they were embarrassed the first time you see them? Or has this been is something that is this a class you've seen a lot?
Yeah, this is like a class I've seen a lot.
Okay.
Like we would be
I would just rephrase that if it was the first time. I was like, hey,
right.
Now tell me about what's embarrassing to you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. So then number 3, we did the topic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, like I said before, I forgot to go over the big questions.
Yeah. How will you CFU? How will you check for understanding? Or tell me how you did in our presentation.
I think I did a better job of checking for understanding about finding the theme itself, but I didn't spend enough time with the book itself and kind of looking at like the emotions of it. And I think that if I had read the physical book itself to you guys, then I could have been able to like stop, and do like the close reading and talking about, oh, what do you notice about this? And what do you notice about that? And things like that versus just having the story playing.
Okay.
Although I suppose I could have paused it and asked questions that way, because if thinking about in terms of doing distance learning lessons, like these are things that will have to be factored in.
Well, this will not be the first time you read it to them. So maybe it would be okay to just have it the first time go through. Because obviously this is day one. You're going to go over this story several more times where you can do those pausing things.
Right. To have them kind of absorb it that way. But then if that's the case, maybe I wouldn't want to do, looking at the themes. Do you think that would be too much?
That brings my next point. Why did you choose the teaching theme YouTube video? Or what was okay, yeah, answer that question first.
Okay. Well, I liked how like simple and direct that video was, and
Mhm.
also I'm trying to draw in like different methods of representation.
Different methods of representation.
So like the visual and audio of using of using a YouTube video, and then we
Okay.
would go over it again. Ideally, in like a classroom setting, I would have um, handouts that I could do. I don't know if you can.
Something that stuck out to me is the fact that you had two videos in a row.
Uh-huh.
That might not and keep attention if you
Uh-huh.
do one video and then the other.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I want you to think about is switching the order.
Okay.
Since you're telling us about, since teaching the theme is, you're basically teaching the theme, right?
Uh-huh.
And then because how I modeled, I got confused. Are we doing about Stripes or Frozen?
Okay.
So that would be,
Okay, so maybe do the teach presents how to find a theme first, and then we would say, okay, now we looked at how to do for Frozen. Now we're gonna look at our own story and
you might not even get the story today if you know, because you're going to read it another 4 times. If you just
uh-huh.
want to focus on, if you feel that that video of teaching themes something you want in your presentation, focus on it.
Uh-huh. So just focus on that, like the first day about finding themes. But then like, because I wanted to give my students like something to actually work with to build a theme out of. Like, do you think maybe would be better to find like a short reading to do that?
Well, then there's a second thing. Another plan would be maybe that video was so basic, you could probably just recreate it yourself and then you lead that as
Mm-hmm.
part of your PowerPoint presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Just soak up the bullet points that they're doing and you focus it back on the book instead of having a whole nother book or movie that they have to think about.
Uh-huh. And keep it related to the topic. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That so I think one of those two things would be ideal. Either make the day about teaching the theme,
Uh-huh.
and then day two you tuck in the story, or maybe just rewrite the teaching the theme video and base it on have it tailored to a bad case of stripes. Because I mean, if you just look at the slides there, you could basically recreate that, and then you not narrate that it's going to be about
Uh-huh.
bad case of stripes. What are some things you noticed in bad case of stripes that was bothering her? And then that would also elicit the whole talk about the topics you were doing. Because I felt you put a lot in day one that didn't have to be there.
Uh-huh. Like in our lesson that we did or on this in my lesson plan right here. It's too much.
No, no, on what we did.
Okay. Also, I feel like a lot of time was spent trying to figure out technical things. So if I was more practiced and had things primed ready to go, less time would have been, wasted on that.
Counterpoint, that time would have been spent you talking to them about the story.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to spend that much time. So you're going to spend about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think you can cover more with less things you have to remember. Like don't remember two stories, or remember one story, or remember how to teach the theme.
Uh-huh.
Day two, apply that to your story, whichever you feel is ideal.
Okay.
Maybe not even make your own video. You could just add it to your slide presentation because you have a couple slides there that you were going through with us.
Uh-huh.
Just add a couple more and go through them like that.
Okay. Okay, what has been learned? What has been learned? What has not been learned?
What number two?
Yeah.
Oh, we're number one. So,
Still number one. I felt like you guys got the concept of how to do
mhm.
that. Um,
Yes.
okay, good. So it was pretty simple and straightforward, and like, making sure it's not, oh, the theme is about friendship, you know.
Yes.
Okay. What have I learned about my
I
students?
like how you redirected some of the conversation to what you wanted it to be about.
Right.
And I love your democracy.
Well, it sounded like the two girls, you were the only one who was wanting to do the wisdom
No,
one.
no. Again, you handled it perfectly. It was just, you didn't make it a thing. You just moved on.
Okay.
That's how you should do it.
Okay. I think we're ready to move on to number two.
All right.
Formulate how effective your instructional design was based on your planning and teaching as evidenced by data collected on student process and products of learning. Okay, I think we kind of talked about that, right? About like just um, making sure that everything is primed and practicing. Um, and then
Okay. Well, hold on. What data did you collect?
what data did I collect? My personal observations on students. Um,
Will they be writing to like a classroom or to Seesaw, or how will you get written or like textual evidence that they did something? Or is that
okay.
required?
Well, I mean, it should be. What I really would like to do is figure out how to do like the breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then like after I've demonstrated it and we've done it together, then send my groups into the different breakout rooms and then you guys would like type it up yourselves and then I could view it that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can record in separate rooms? Okay, again, you'd have to figure that out. That sounds like a lot of bandwidth.
Well, I know that I would be able to like pop in it out in the different rooms and kind of see, so I could do observations that way. And then you guys would submit, or the students would submit, their written piece that they did.
Yeah, again, it's just gonna have to be one platform specific, whatever district has and what they use. You'll have to be able to get flexible with that.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, that would, so number two, I think the data you collected would be, like you said, something, anecdotal evidence is good too. And if you had recordings, I don't know if it had a whiteboard. I don't know if that's a material they have, showed on the whiteboard what you thought the topic was, or a piece of
Mm-hmm.
paper.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use video evidence, okay, I need to hear Carla whisper to Melissa what the topic is.
Okay.
Have them say it, write it, other than just watch it.
Okay.
Engage some more different intelligences.
Okay.
And that'd be good evidence, right? I saw them do that. With the writing, I heard them when they spoke to another person.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um,
I think
so
we kind
like,
of covered number three.
yeah, how will we plan it differently? So like changing maybe like either splitting it into a whole nother day of instruction, um, and then adding more to that.
Whichever one you feel comfortable. I mean, it doesn't have to be one of those two. I mean, it just, again, my comment was that it felt very packed for one day.
Okay, just too much for one day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if nothing else, I would think maybe keeping it to one theme, either Frozen introduction day or teaching theme from the story we just read day.
Mm-hmm.
However you want to implement that.
They do the story and then have them and then review the theme and then have them do a little activity on that.
However you can record it or
Mm-hmm.
have evidence that they did that.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be interesting having everything virtually online.
Let's breathe.
Okay, number 4. How will you modify, extend, or incorporate new levels?
Covered that too.
Yeah, we did. New levels as it relates to their processes and products of learning. Okay, yeah. So
What? I just read the last sentence. I could have like been a shadow. If my colleague does not wish to be a PR on camera, I should read the whole thing.
So I liked your comment of how they should try to find evidence of how of things that I see them doing, hear them doing. What would be another one?
See and act. Okay, so what you saw them do when you wrote it down, right? Or actually, they wrote it down on a whiteboard, so that's them writing.
Mm-hmm.
When they spoke to another person, that's verbal.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Maybe
whatever they turn
responding
in.
to me.
Hmm?
Maybe responding to me,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, like
Reflecting,
if I say, what is
clarifying.
more of a theme? Yeah, okay.
Tell me another word that means so, like the whole knowledge wisdom thing.
Uh-huh.
Have it. Are those synonyms?
Okay, right. Okay. We recorded it via Zoom. Yeah. And then, so if we were in a classroom, the activity that I really wanted to do was once they found the theme, they would crumple up the piece of paper and toss it over to their neighbors. And the neighbors would get the theme and they would have to find textual support and then send it to the next group. So it's like kind of like interactive. It's kind of the novelty of crumpling up paper and throwing it.
And then they gotta get fake like they catch it and stuff.
Right. But like,
That's
I don't know
cool.
how I would adapt that to distance learning. Um, and then on the final
I
day,
think you just did it. Like, write down what the topic is
mhm,
and then throw it to the partner next to you. And then the partner basically has to read his own sentence. And then he throws his couple of paper and then you're basically reading your own sentence, but you're adding kind of like action in it.
yeah. And then for day 5, like once they have like all the different textual evidence, they would they would make their own product of that. And it can either be like a paper or it could be like a role play, a dramatic and acting, or a poster or a presentation.
Yeah, keep options. See how engaged they were the first 4 days. How 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 you want to structure day 5. If it went really well, oh, let's go, let's do this again. If it didn't go so well, okay, let's review and move on.
Right.
Sweet, looks good.
All right. Guess I think that's all the points. Any other comments or recommendations?
Why is it that all is the guys they didn't listen to is just the old lady didn't listen to? I think that's very sexist. No, no questions. Fabulous lesson, Melissa.
Thank you. Thanks for participating. All right. Let me see. Let me get back here. Gosh. To meeting. Nope. Okay, stop share. Oh, there we go. Okay. So that will do it. Okay. Thanks, Carla.
You're welcome.